Okay, hey team, my boyfriend's on nights again, so I am back. I'm actually making this video because I'm basically just postponing reading, because I'm meant to be reading Iron Flame, this lovely boy. But oh my god, I don't know who anyone is. I read the first one, waited a week or two, then started reading this one, and I don't know who any of the characters are, so I'm finding it hard to get through. So instead, I thought I'd make a fun little video where I rank every single one of the Twisted series and like run through the plots of them, but from memory. So I read these books probably 3 years ago. Yeah, no, 2 years ago. I probably read these books two years ago. And I have read these three actually since. I don't really like the last one, sorry. Definitely an unpopular opinion. But yeah, so I'm gonna try and remember what they're about from memory and then kind of just give a little vibe about what I thought. I have had a wine. I haven't had a few. I've had one wine. I'm gonna have another one. This is just a fun night for me because oh my god, my boyfriend's working nights, and I get so bored. And when I'm bored, I end up either eating or just feeling sorry for myself. So instead, I'm gonna talk about books. So, diving straight in. Number one. So if you're not aware, this is an interlocking series, so it's 4 books about 4 best friends, and there's like a couple of other little relations in there, and we'll get into that as we go through. So, first one is about Ava and Alex. So Ava, this is so interesting because I can't remember. So Ava is that's my cat causing some mischief. Ava is an artist, and she has a brother called Josh, and they grew up in like they grew up in like a fairly interesting family. So their mum is dead. I think their mum died during childbirth to Ava, and then the dad kind of didn't really like Ava all that much. And it actually transpires that the dad tried to kill Ava like multiple times while she was growing up, but she doesn't figure this out until later in the book. And like there's a lot of like issues surrounding Josh's relationship with his dad after he finds out that the dad's tried to kill Ava, and that's a whole plot line. So the secondary plot line is Alex, so he's the male main character, and he is Josh's best friend. They like are kind of different people. Like Josh is super funny, super like outgoing, super sarcastic. Alex is dead inside. He's not funny, not sarcastic, just multi-billionaire. Sorry, I forgot to mention that, literally the most important thing about him. And so Josh is going traveling, and then Josh says to Alex, can you look after my sister while I'm gone? Huh? We all know what that means. We all know what that means. They are gonna fuck. And they do. They do smash bad. It happens because Ava is trying to get emotions out of Alex, and then like she's doing it as a bit of a prank, and then like but Alex kind of then fancies her and like is kind of annoyed by her. Like he's annoyed that he's in love with her, and it's just so hard. Yeah, and and it's kind of good. Like their smexy scenes are top tier, I would say. I would say this is, yeah, really good. Like not awkward, not awkwardly placed. Kind of enjoyed them, good vibes. But sorry, my cats are causing a ruckus outside. Let me check if they want in. No, they're just playing with each other. So the bit where it gets a bit crazy is Alex's parents died, or like something happened to Alex's parents, and then it was Ava's dad that was like responsible. So it turns out that the whole time he would only befriended Josh because he wanted to like get back at his dad. And then obviously like Ava feels massively betrayed. She's like, oh my god, you just like smashed because you wanted to like fuck over my dad, and oh my god. And then Ava gets kidnapped. She gets fucking kidnapped. And then by Alex's uncle, who's actually evil. I'm not gonna lie, this book, it's a small Look how small this book is. Look how much I've explained. I've been here for 5 minutes. It's a bit crazy, I'm not gonna lie. I loved it. But Anna, this book is a bit wild, and you know that, and I know that. Like, I would say up to here, good vibes. Here is where like the kidnapping and like the craziness happens. Trying to see what's, yeah, literally no idea. No, this does talk about the dad. Crazy. But I would say the best part of this book / the worst part is like the groveling. So basically, obviously, Ava's really upset. Alex is like, oh no, she's the love of my life. So Ava moves naturally, as you do, across the world to England. This is set in America. She moves to England to like pursue artistry. Alex, very chill, very demure, very mindful, moves to stalk her for a year. He sells his company, like stops being CEO and goes to England so that he can stalk Ava for a year. That's the kind of dedication I need from a man, just saying. So that was kind of good, but the only thing I will say is like it happens a bit abruptly to me. Like they kind of, like a year passes and then she goes, okay fine, I guess I do kind of love you then. Like the groveling is great, but the way they kind of reconcile is a bit odd. Alex sings, oh, I remember that now, he sings very weirdly. But yeah, I basically say I remember this was one of the first books I read to get into reading. I started unfortunately with Colleen Hoover, and then straight into Anna Huang, and it's a good book, it is, but my god, it should have been longer, because what is this? Hey Teddy, my little gorgeous cat's arrived. I can't pick him up because he will scratch my eyes out, but just know that there's a gorgeous little ginger cat sat right here. So yeah, I would rate this book, after all of that, I'd rate this book an 8 out of 10. Because actually I was gripped throughout, and I remember reading it for the second time and I was still gripped, but it's, yeah, I don't know why I'm rating it an 8 out of 10. I don't know why I'm knocking off those 2 points, but you just read it and know that this could have been better. I think she could have dropped certain plot lines and picked up others. I don't know. 8 out of 10. But I'll never say anything bad about Anna. I love all of her books. Apart from the final one of the Twisted series. Whoops. Next one here. So this is about Bridget and Reese. So Bridget is, again, friends with Ava. And I think they all go to the same college in America. And Bridget is a princess. I love it. As you can tell, Anna, she doesn't let a realistic plot get in the way of a good story, because what do you mean, you're a princess going to an American college? I love it. So yeah, so she is a princess. She actually gets kidnapped with Ava from the first book, which is she's part of that. And Reese is her bodyguard at that time, or does he get put there? I can't remember. Basically, Reese is like a new bodyguard to her, and he's like an older, taller, sexy little man. And he's like, I'm gonna do my job, and that's it. Oh, you can just about see Dad. And yeah, obviously Bridget kind of fancies him from the get-go. Like, she straight away is like, oh, he so like loves the rules, but also he's kind of hot. And who wouldn't think that, you know? You're literally a princess and he is a 6'4" bodyguard, so. Oh, hey baby. Slay. So, Bridget and Reese. He's kind of sad and lonely, and she's kind of sad and lonely too, I guess. And then I can't remember what happens with these guys. They like, I know they go on holiday to Costa Rica, and like Reese has a house in Costa Rica somehow. I can't really remember it. Anywho, all I know is that Bridget's brother is meant to be the king, so he's meant to like take over the throne. He says, no, I would like to marry a pauper. Like, I'm smashing beneath my station. So steps back. Homegirl Bridget has to then become the queen, and she's really nervous. She doesn't know what she's doing. And then the whole way through the book, like, she falls in love with Rhys. Obviously she can't be the queen and be with Rhys, crazy. And then like she has to expose some politicians and like kind of, I don't know, like overthrow politicians. And she does that by getting Alex to do his super spy skills and like find dirt on them. And then she manages to like overthrow the like 400-year rule that says like a royal can't marry another, like a pauper. And yeah, and then she kind of lives happily ever after. This book doesn't really have many twists or turns. Like, the main twist is like, oh no, she can't marry him because he's just a regular person. Rhys can do no wrong. Like, you know how Alex like had to grovel? There's just no need. Rhys is perfect. All he does is love her and look after her at every single turn. And although he's not my favourite character from this series, he is just undeniably the best boyfriend in this series, for real. So Rhys, if you exist out there, well done, homeboy, well done. So you can tell they're getting a little bit thicker. I think as she builds in characters, like, all the books get thicker and thicker and thicker. And I feel like because she's like building on her world, she has more to write about, which is one thing I love about Anna. I'll say this time and time again, I love the fact that all of her series and all of her books are connected in the same universe. Oh my god, it just means they pop up and they see each other, and it happens really naturally, so I love that from her. Okay, next. Have I covered this book? Yeah, I have. It's kind of the plot. Or do I rate it? So, unpopular opinion, I fear. I actually rate this a 7 out of 10 because I enjoyed this book, don't get me wrong, and the plot was less whiplashy than Twisted Love, the first one, but I don't know, it was, you just knew what was going to happen, and like, I know that's the case with all of these books, but I feel like at least with Twisted Love, like, I knew what was going to happen towards the end, whereas like this book, like halfway through you know what's going to happen. I don't know. It was okay. It was good. It was 7 out of 10. Like, not bad. I would read it again, but not that quickly. So that's that one. So, third. Oh my god, the best book in the series. This is called Twisted Hate. So this one is about Josh, who is the brother of Ava, and Jules, who is the best friend of Ava. I didn't mention her on purpose, so I can mention her in this book. She is a fiery redhead with big old titties, and I don't think she'd mind me saying that, because that's what she is the whole way through the book. The only thing I have in common with her is that we have red hair, but I do sometimes like to think that at work I potentially might channel my inner Jules, because people need to be told what's what. And she is that. She is like an aspiring lawyer, and just all-round badass. So this is like enemies to lovers. So her and Josh hate each other. They've known each other since they were very, very young, because obviously Ava and Jules are best friends. And the reason why Josh hates Jules is because she always seems to get Ava into trouble. Ava is this like perfect, angelic little sister, whereas Jules is like this bull in a china shop, and she always seems to get into trouble. This turns out that it's because of her like checkered past. I can't actually remember what her checkered past is. I think it's because her mum used to be jealous of her, like, because Jules like looked quite attractive quite young, and like her mum didn't like that. She kind of saw it as competition, which is so violently toxic, but fair enough, I guess. And then Josh is an aspiring doctor, I think. Or is he a doctor? I don't know. I don't think he is a doctor yet. I can't remember, if you want the truth. So all I know is that they end up working in the same place because she gets like a law related role at like a doctor place. I don't really know. And they end up working together and they hate each other, and then I think they have like hate sex, and then they just keep doing it, and then they kind of do fancy each other, and then they kind of decide they love each other, and then Jules gets herself into a predicament where she has to steal a piece of artwork because someone has like dirt on her from her like checkered past, and then like that's it, she has to like steal from Josh, and Josh finds out and gets really upset because he's like, why didn't you trust me? And then she's like, I can't let anyone in, and then they forgive each other. Oh my god, no. Oh my god, no. This book has the worst lining out of all 4 books, and this is why people don't like Josh. And I kind of get it, but I don't know. I read a lot of other dark romances where like they have to forgive quite a bit, so this is okay. But for context, like Josh and Jules have fallen out because Jules has stolen from him, and then she goes over and like they have sex and he pretends to have forgiven her, and then like after they've done the deed he's like, I lied, like I don't forgive you, and like basically like uses her, which is what people have been doing her whole life, which is why she's like distraught. So very unforgivable, but also like makes for a good book and an interesting read and interesting characters and like interesting character development. So you can see again this one's like a little bit thicker. This book for me is a 9 out of 10, so it's is it yeah, I'd say it's a 9 out of 10, and the reason why I like this one is because, like I already said, because she's creating her little Annaverse, there's so many like different plots and people, and I love their characters, I love the character development, I love their backstories, and also she's ginger, so I can't help but just give her an extra point because I love her. So yeah, so that's that. And then in my professional opinion, series should have ended. I'm so sorry, this is such an unpopular opinion, like for real. Twisted Lies, final book in the series. Oh, it's just the worst book in the series. It is, because for me they didn't like, or Anna didn't talk about these characters enough in the rest of the series, but then acted like we should have been completely aware of them, and I just don't feel like their characters had enough like build up, and it's just so boring. Oh, it's just so boring to me, this book. I don't know what it is. People love it, and also people say that he is the best book boyfriend. Sorry, I haven't even explained the plot and I'm just already complaining about it. So the plot, so Stella, who is the final girl in the group, in the friendship group, she is an influencer, and she lives with Jules in a penthouse which is owned by Christian Harper. Christian Harper has a security company who actually employed the bodyguard from book 2, and he also has close connections to Alex, because they just do business and they're rich and they're businessmen and they're this and they're that. So Stella and Jules live in the apartment block that Christian owns. As we now know, Jules and Josh want to live together, so Jules moves out. Stella's like, oh my god, I can't afford to live here, it's a really expensive apartment block. She then like kind of, I can't remember if she says it to Christian or like if he knows somehow, but basically Christian ends up giving her like she basically pays no rent, but what she does have to do is water his plants, and that's like not a euphemism kind of thing, like he genuinely just needs his plants watered. Kind of giving useless, but anywho, so they like strike up a deal, and basically it's one of those where they don't actually have any like storyline. Christian just decides he's in love with her, like he lays one set of eyes on her and he's like, I'm in love, you're the one for me. But it's less like love, it's more like obsession, and I do like that kind of trope, and I have read it before. Like I read Haunting Adeline, which is all about like basically being a stalker, and I don't know, I think it has a time and place in books, and I think my issue is I don't like him, therefore I don't like the trope on him, if that makes sense, because Christian didn't give caring enough to me, and I can't put my finger on why, because he gave her low rent, he like drove her in the rain or something, and like he was very caring throughout the book, but it felt caring for his own gain rather than just caring for the sake of being caring. And I don't know, I'm not a fan of him, not a fan. And then Stella, she was a very sweet character, she was a very lovely character. And you know what, I think if this would have been the second book in the series, I would have loved it. But because when I read this, I literally read them all back to back in like a weekend, and I went from reading about Jules, who is the most interesting female of the whole series, to Stella, who unfortunately is just a really, really pretty girl with a kind heart. It's like night and day, it's like night and day, and I think for that reason I didn't enjoy it. So yeah, the plot's like, I can't even remember what like the issue they had is. That was it. Stella had like a stalker, and then I don't know, I literally have no idea. And this is how boring I found it, I can't remember the plot. Stella had a stalker and Christian helped find him, but I can't remember who the stalker was. And Christian had his own issues. He had like no, that's the second book, like the second series, I can't remember. They just had, I don't know, boring book if you ask me. Let's have a refresh. No, yeah, I don't know. This tried to, like, the back doesn't even have anything that crazy on. I think for me, this book was very like dark romance, but not. And I think when I read this, at the time of reading it, I read a lot of dark romance, therefore this just lost kind of all its effect. I think when I picked up the Twisted series, I was reading it because it was like a light-hearted, oh, like these are all just cool characters, they're all interlinked and they're all in love. And yeah, so trying to throw like a dark book in there just didn't really work. I am really interested because she's got her Kings of Sin series, and I think the 4th or 5th book to that, she's like, oh, it's a dark romance and I'm making it a dark romance. And I'm so interested to see if she can carry it off, because I think he's like a Russian company owner, and she's kind of alluded to him in all the other books being quite like dark and mysterious. And I think it sounds better than this one, because actually Christian just like kind of throws tantrums rather than like, I don't know, actually being quite a powerful person. So yeah, like Alex, to me, the first book, he was like more of a powerful dark romance character than the final book. Yeah, and he carries that the whole way through. That's probably my favourite part of the series, is the fact that at any given moment Alex can just arrive and be horrible to everyone and it's okay. And also, like, going back to what I said before, like, Alex actually did things at the detriment to himself to look after Ava, whereas Christian, I just didn't get that vibe. And I could be so wrong, because I just don't feel like I've read the book properly, because I just found it boring. So this is why I'm just not a trustworthy person to give book reviews, because I just don't read books properly. So yeah, that is a very quick run through of my memory of the Twisted series. Yeah, I would recommend it. I don't know if anyone's got that from what I've said, but I would recommend it. Yeah. Right, I'm dead bored, so I think I'm gonna stop this now. Maybe make another video, get a bit crazy. I just can't bother to read. Oh, I just pulled a bit of paint off. I have the most new buildy house of new builds. Anywho, but yeah, I just can't bother to read Iron Flame. It's looking at me, like, it's right now, it's actually right here, it's staring me in the face, and I just can't be bothered because I don't know who half the characters are. What do you mean? So right, I'm off.